A shy teenage girl too scared to dance finds courage in the most unexpected hug. Changing one night out with her billionaire dad into a memory that will last a lifetime? The billionaire dad was used to a life full of meetings, deals, and constant traveling. His days were packed with calls, emails, and endless responsibilities. Yet, despite all the wealth and power he had, there was one thing he cherished more than anything: his daughter. She was his world. She had grown up in the shadows of his busy life, often surrounded by nannies and tutors, while he tried to be present whenever he could. Now, she was a teenager, and he realized that time with her was slipping by faster than he wanted. He wanted a night to truly be with her, to see her laugh and enjoy herself without worrying about anything else. He decided they would go out for a special evening. Just the two of them. It wasn't easy to arrange. He had to move meetings, handle security, and ensure that paparazzi wouldn't be able to ruin the surprise. He wanted it to feel like a normal night, not something flashy or intimidating, just a simple, joyful evening. The daughter, however, was a little hesitant. She wasn't like other girls her age who loved parties and dancing. She was shy, careful, and sometimes very anxious in social situations. The thought of being in a lively restaurant full of strangers made her stomach twist with nerves. She didn't want to dance or draw attention to herself, not yet. When they arrived at the restaurant, it was warm and lively. The lights were soft and golden, and the sound of music floated through the air. Couples were dancing on the polished floor. Servers moved gracefully around the tables, and the smell of delicious food made the whole place feel inviting. It was not a quiet, stiff place. It was full of life. He noticed her eyes widen slightly as she took in the scene. She clung to her father's hand a little tighter, unsure if she was ready for all the attention and excitement. He could feel her nervousness and decided not to rush her. He whispered a few comforting words, reminding her that she didn't have to do anything she didn't want to do. She gave a small, hesitant smile, still uneasy, but slightly reassured by his calm presence. He had watched her grow up, seen her shy nature, and always tried to make sure she felt safe. Tonight, he wanted her to have a moment that was just for her. Free from fear or anxiety, they were seated at a quiet corner of the restaurant, giving them a view of the dance floor but enough privacy for the daughter to feel safe. The father ordered their favorite dishes, paying attention to every detail he knew she liked. As they waited for the food, he engaged her in gentle conversation, asking about school, friends, and her small achievements. She slowly began to relax, her laughter soft but genuine. It was rare to see her so open, and he cherished every moment. Despite her initial hesitation, the daughter couldn't help but glance at the dancers. She admired their confidence and how they seemed so carefree. Part of her wanted to join, but fear held her back. The thought of making a mistake, of being watched, made her feel like retreating. He noticed her longing look and offered encouragement without pressure, simply reminding her that she could enjoy herself in her own way. He knew that forcing her wouldn't help. She needed to feel brave on her own terms. The restaurant was full of small moments that seemed ordinary to others, but felt special to him. A couple laughing at a shared joke, a server carefully placing a dish on a table, the music flowing effortlessly through the room. It all created an atmosphere of warmth and joy. He wanted his daughter to soak it in, to feel that happiness without fear. He watched her take in the details, noticing how her eyes followed the movements of the dancers and how her shoulders relaxed slightly as the music filled the space. He also noticed other guests stealing glances at them. Some recognized him, while others simply admired the quiet father-daughter connection that seemed so genuine. He didn't mind attention, but he cared deeply that she felt normal and comfortable. He wanted her to feel that she could enjoy the evening without the weight of who he was pressing down on her. The more he watched her, the more he realized how fragile yet resilient she was. She had grown up aware of the world's expectations, and yet she still had a soft, kind heart that deserved moments of pure joy. As the food arrived, she began to eat with more confidence, sharing small stories about her day. He listened attentively, laughing softly at her humor and marveling at the way she saw the world. In these moments, he felt a quiet pride. He had spent so much time building his business, and yet this simple connection, this laughter, This shared evening felt far more valuable. He silently promised himself he would make more of these moments happen, no matter how busy life became. Outside, the lights of the city twinkled, but inside, the warmth of the restaurant created a small world just for them. She glanced again at the dancers and then back at her father. She felt safe, protected, and slowly, a tiny spark of courage began to grow inside her. It was not yet strong enough to take the first step onto the dance floor, but it was there. The father noticed it too, a small glimmer of bravery in her eyes. He smiled quietly, letting her take all the time she needed. The waiter came by to check on them, and the father complimented the staff warmly, creating a relaxed atmosphere. He didn't want his wealth or status to overshadow the simplicity of the evening. This night was about his daughter, and every choice he made, from the seating to the music in the background, was about helping her feel at ease. The daughter, feeling the care and attention, began to believe that maybe tonight could be different. Maybe she could allow herself to feel joy. Even in the presence of strangers and music she once feared, by the time they finished the first course, the daughter's laughter had grown a little louder, her smiles a little wider. She began to notice the rhythm of the music, tapping her fingers lightly on the table. Her father watched closely, his heart swelling with love. This was the moment he had hoped for, not that she would dance immediately, but that she would start to open up to the idea, to trust that she could enjoy herself. The night was only beginning, but already it had become memorable. The atmosphere, the gentle encouragement, and the simple warm gestures of kindness around them created a bubble of safety. She was beginning to see that she could belong here, that it was okay to be herself, that her father's presence made everything less intimidating. This night was shaping up to be more than just dinner. It was the beginning of a transformation, a small step toward confidence and courage. As the father glanced at his daughter, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. For all the business deals and wealth he had accumulated, nothing compared to this feeling, seeing his daughter feel safe, cared for, and just a little bit braver than before. The music, the restaurant, the laughter around them, all of it faded into the background of this simple, powerful connection between father and daughter. Tonight she would learn that it was okay to be herself, that fear could be met with patience, and that love and understanding could change even the smallest moments into something extraordinary. The daughter sat quietly at the table, still holding her father's hand a little tightly. Even though she was starting to feel a bit more comfortable with her dad nearby, the lively restaurant and the dancers moving with such confidence made her nervous. She wished she could join them, but fear kept her rooted in her seat. She didn't want to be watched, judged, or make a mistake. Her father noticed her hesitance, but he didn't push. He knew she had to find her own courage, and sometimes all a person needed was a gentle nudge from someone who cared. That someone came in the form of the waitress. A woman with a warm smile and a kind energy that seemed to fill the room. She had been moving gracefully between tables, serving food, refilling drinks, and occasionally offering small smiles or jokes to the guests. She noticed the daughter immediately, sitting slightly apart, eyes wide as she watched the dancers. The waitress could sense that the girl was shy, and she knew that a kind word or gesture could make a big difference. When the waitress approached their table, she greeted them warmly, asking if everything was to their liking. Her voice was soft but confident, carrying a friendliness that instantly made the daughter feel a little more at ease. She smiled back hesitantly, unsure of what to say, while her father thanked the waitress politely. But the waitress didn't just take their order and leave. She lingered for a moment, glancing at the daughter and noticing her nervous fidgeting. She crouched slightly to meet the girl's eyes, speaking in a gentle tone that was more like a conversation than a question. "Hey," she said softly, "I can see you're a little shy tonight. That's okay. You don't have to do anything you don't want to." The daughter blinked, surprised by the kindness in her voice. Most people didn't notice her shyness. They usually just assumed she was quiet or distant. But this woman had seen her, truly seen her, and it made her feel noticed in a way she hadn't before. The waitress reached out and offered a small, comforting hug. It was brief, simple, and full of understanding. The daughter stiffened at first, then slowly relaxed into the hug, feeling a warmth she hadn't expected. Her father watched quietly from across the table, his heart swelling with gratitude. He had tried to help her build confidence all these years, but seeing someone else offer her kindness in such a natural way touched him deeply. He realized that sometimes the people we meet unexpectedly can play a huge role in helping us overcome fear. The waitress stepped back, smiling warmly, giving the daughter space, but letting her know she was safe. The daughter felt a tiny spark of courage ignite within her. She wasn't ready to dance yet, but the fear that had held her down all evening seemed a little smaller. The waitress gave her a gentle nod as if saying, "You're going to be okay. I believe in you." That small gesture meant more than words could express. The daughter looked at her father, who smiled back reassuringly. Between them, she felt a quiet support that gave her strength, as the waitress moved on to serve other tables. The daughter couldn't help but watch her. There was something inspiring about the way she carried herself, calm, kind, and confident, yet never imposing. She seemed to make everyone feel comfortable, even in a busy, crowded restaurant full of strangers. The daughter realized that bravery didn't always mean standing on a stage or performing in front of others. Sometimes it was simply allowing yourself to feel safe and seen. Even in a small moment, the father noticed his daughter's gaze and gently squeezed her hand. "See," he whispered, "kindness is everywhere. You don't have to be afraid." The daughter nodded, still holding on to the small comfort she had felt from the waitress hug. Her heart felt lighter than it had all evening. For the first time, she felt that maybe she could enjoy the night without fear. The waitress returned a few minutes later with their drinks, offering a friendly smile and chatting casually. She made small talk about the music, the food, and even complimented the daughter on her beautiful dress. The daughter blushed slightly, feeling seen and appreciated. It was a strange but wonderful feeling, being noticed in such a gentle way. She started to open up a little, sharing small words and even a quiet laugh. Her father smiled, feeling proud of the progress she was making, and he realized that sometimes courage came in tiny, almost invisible steps. As the night went on, the waitress continued to check in occasionally, always respectful of their space, but always present enough to provide reassurance. The daughter began to notice the way others around her moved freely, dancing and laughing without worry. She wanted to join them, but the fear of judgment still lingered. However, with the memory of the waitress' kind hug and the father's calm presence, she felt a growing sense of bravery. She realized that she didn't have to be perfect. She just had to allow herself to try. The father watched his daughter closely, noticing the subtle changes, the way she straightened her back slightly, the way her eyes followed the dancers with curiosity instead of fear. He knew that tonight was about more than just going out for dinner. It was about giving her a chance to feel confident in herself. The waitress had unknowingly become a part of this moment, her kindness providing a bridge between fear and courage. The music shifted to a gentle, uplifting melody, and the daughter's attention turned fully to the dance floor. She could see couples moving in rhythm, spinning and twirling effortlessly. The sight was mesmerizing, and she felt a strange pull to join, but hesitation still held her back. She remembered the hug, the way it had made her feel safe, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, she began to inch closer to the idea of participating. The father leaned slightly toward her and said softly, "You don't have to dance if you don't want to, but if you ever feel ready, I'll be right here." His words were comforting, not commanding. They reminded her that she had control over her own choices, that bravery didn't mean being forced into anything. The daughter took a deep breath, feeling a warmth in her chest. She realized that courage could start with a single, small step, something as simple as standing up, even if just for a moment. Meanwhile, the waitress noticed the subtle shift in the daughter's demeanor. She smiled quietly to herself, proud of the small difference she had made. Sometimes, she thought, all a person needed was someone to believe in them, even for just a few minutes. She moved on to other tables, leaving a trail of calm confidence behind her, but her impact lingered in the daughter's mind. The girl felt the courage building slowly, and it was thrilling, almost magical. The father and daughter continued their meal, the conversation flowing more easily now. She laughed softly at something he said, and he realized that the night had already begun to transform. Fear was still there, but it was no longer controlling her. The memory of the waitress hug reminded her that she could be brave, and that kindness existed in unexpected places. She felt connected not just to her father, but to the world around her, in a way she hadn't before. By the time they finished their dessert, the daughter's confidence had grown even more. She found herself tapping her fingers in time with the music, glancing at the dance floor with curiosity rather than fear. She began to imagine what it would feel like to move, to let herself be part of the rhythm. And though she hadn't yet stepped onto the floor, the first seeds of courage had been planted. The father noticed the change and smiled quietly to himself. He had wanted this night to be special, but it had become more than he could have imagined. The combination of his love, his patience, and the waitress' unexpected kindness had started to open a door for his daughter, door that led to bravery, joy, and the freedom to enjoy herself without fear. The daughter glanced at the waitress one more time as she passed their table. She gave a small, grateful smile, feeling a warmth that she couldn't quite describe. That simple connection, that brief moment of understanding and kindness, had given her the courage to consider stepping out of her comfort zone. The father noticed the exchange and nodded slightly, understanding the quiet magic of what had just happened. For the first time that evening, the daughter allowed herself to imagine what it might feel like to dance. She didn't know if she would do it tonight, but the fear that had seemed so powerful earlier now felt manageable. The hug, the smile, the gentle encouragement, they had all combined to give her the confidence to at least dream about joining in. And in that moment, the father knew that the night was already a success. The real magic had happened quietly, through small acts of kindness and the courage to believe in oneself. The daughter had been sitting quietly for most of the evening, watching the dancers with a mix of awe and nervousness. The music swirled around the room full of life and energy, and she felt both drawn to it and held back by her fear. Her fingers tapped lightly on the table, keeping time with the beat, as if her body already wanted to move, but her mind was still unsure. She glanced at her father, who sat calmly beside her, watching her with quiet patience. His presence was comforting. He didn't push her, didn't insist that she dance, and that made her feel safer than she had all evening. The waitress. Earlier hug still lingered in her mind, a simple gesture that had sparked a tiny spark of courage. She realized that she didn't have to be perfect. She just had to take a small step. And tonight, the thought of dancing no longer felt impossible. She could imagine herself moving, even if just a little, letting the music guide her without worrying about who was watching. Her heart raced, a mixture of excitement and fear. But she felt ready to try, even if only in the smallest way. The music shifted to a more upbeat tune, one that seemed to flow through the room with an infectious energy. The dancers on the floor moved with grace and confidence, their laughter and smiles filling the air. The daughter's eyes followed them, and she noticed how much fun they were having. She wanted to feel that freedom too, to let herself enjoy the moment without worrying about mistakes. Her father leaned slightly closer and whispered softly, "If you want to, you can try. I'm right here." The reassurance in his voice gave her the courage she needed. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of his support. Slowly, she rose from her chair, her legs trembling slightly. She could feel the eyes of a few nearby guests on her, but she reminded herself that this was her moment, not theirs. With each step, her confidence grew, just a little, and she found herself moving toward the edge of the dance floor. Her heart pounded in her chest, and for a moment, she wondered if she should stop. Fear whispered that she wasn't ready, that she might embarrass herself. But she remembered the waitress' hug, the kindness and belief in her, and it gave her strength to continue. Her father followed quietly, walking beside her, but giving her space. He didn't hold her hand this time. He knew she wanted to try on her own. The daughter took one more deep breath and stepped onto the polished wooden floor. The music seemed to embrace her, filling her with energy and making her body move almost instinctively. Her first steps were small, tentative, but they were steps nonetheless. She felt a thrill of excitement run through her. She was doing it. She was dancing. The people around her didn't seem to notice her hesitation. The dancers continued their movements, but the daughter focused only on herself, letting the rhythm guide her. She lifted her head, feeling a mixture of nervousness and exhilaration. Her father watched from the edge of the floor, a proud smile on his face. He could see her struggle with fear, yet push through it anyway. Each small movement was a victory. Each step a declaration that she could face her anxieties and still find joy. The daughter began to experiment with the rhythm, moving her arms slightly and swaying with the beat. She laughed quietly to herself, surprised at how much fun she was having. The initial fear was still there, lingering like a shadow, but it was no longer controlling her. She felt a sense of freedom she hadn't experienced before, as if the music had unlocked a door she didn't even know existed. The crowd around her became a blur. She wasn't dancing for them. She was dancing for herself. The waitress, noticing the shift, smiled quietly from her station. She had seen this transformation before, the way a simple act of kindness could help someone break through their fear. She didn't interfere. She let the daughter find her own rhythm, letting her confidence grow naturally. The daughter noticed her nod from across the room and felt a rush of pride. It was as if the waitress' silent encouragement had followed her onto the floor, giving her permission to be brave. Her father, still watching closely, could see the change in her posture. The way her movements became less hesitant and more fluid. He felt an overwhelming sense of love and admiration. This wasn't just about dancing. It was about courage, about growth, about seeing his daughter overcome something that had held her back for years. He didn't say anything, knowing that words weren't necessary. Her actions spoke louder than anything he could say. The music changed again, this time to a slower, more flowing rhythm. The daughter adapted, her movements becoming more graceful, more confident. She began to feel the joy of dancing fully, forgetting the fear that had gripped her at the beginning of the night. Her laughter grew, soft at first, then more genuine and free. She felt alive in a way she hadn't before, as if the music had opened a door to a part of herself she had hidden away. A few guests nearby noticed her courage, offering small smiles and quiet applause, but the daughter didn't notice them. She was lost in the moment, feeling the rhythm in her body and the joy in her heart. Her father's presence was steady and reassuring, like a constant anchor, allowing her to explore this newfound freedom without fear. She felt supported, seen, and loved in a way that made her movements even more confident. As the song reached its peak, she twirled gently, her dress flowing around her. She couldn't believe she had done this, that she had stepped onto the floor despite her fears. The thrill of accomplishment mixed with the joy of the music, creating an unforgettable feeling. Her father's eyes were bright with pride, and he silently applauded her bravery. He had always known she was capable of great courage. Now he had witnessed it firsthand. The waitress, watching from a distance, felt a quiet satisfaction. She had played a small role in this transformation, simply by noticing, caring, and offering a brief moment of kindness. She smiled, knowing that these small gestures could change lives in ways that were often invisible to the world. The daughter, unaware of the larger impact of that moment, continued to dance, feeling a freedom and happiness that she had never imagined. As the song ended, the daughter took a small bow to herself, a private celebration of her courage. The applause from nearby guests was unexpected, and she blushed slightly, feeling proud but not embarrassed. She had faced her fear, and it had not defeated her. Instead, it had led her to an experience of joy and self-confidence that she would remember forever. Her father stepped onto the floor and gently took her hand, smiling warmly. "See what happens when you trust yourself?" he said softly. The daughter nodded, her heart full of happiness and pride. She realized that courage wasn't about perfection, it wasn't about impressing anyone, and it wasn't about being fearless. Courage was about taking a step, even when fear was present, and allowing yourself to experience life fully despite it. The music changed again, and the daughter continued to sway with the beat, more confidently now. Each movement felt natural, flowing from her body without hesitation. The warmth of the room, the energy of the dancers, the support of her father, and the memory of the waitress' kindness all came together to create a perfect moment. She had found her courage, and it felt wonderful. The father watched silently, knowing that tonight was a turning point for his daughter. He didn't need to speak. He could see the joy in her eyes, the confidence in her movements, and the freedom in her smile. She had taken a leap, and it had carried her to a place of happiness she had never thought possible. He felt a deep gratitude for the small moments that had led to this one, the gentle encouragement, the kind hug, and the quiet support that had allowed her to trust herself. By the time the song ended and the music shifted once more, the daughter felt a sense of accomplishment she had never experienced before. She had faced her fear, allowed herself to move freely, and discovered a part of herself that had been hidden. She looked at her father, who smiled back with pride and love, and felt a deep connection between them. Tonight, she realized, was about more than dancing. It was about trust, courage, and the power of love and kindness to transform even the smallest moments into something extraordinary. The daughter had grown more confident with each song, her movements becoming smoother and her laughter more genuine. The warmth of the room, the music, and the supportive presence of her father had helped her shed some of the fear that had held her back for so long. She was beginning to enjoy herself, feeling the rhythm in her body and the joy of being alive in the moment. But just when she thought the evening could not get any more special, something unexpected happened. The restaurant manager stepped onto the small stage at the corner of the room. He clapped his hands lightly to get everyone's attention, and the chatter and music softened as people turned to listen. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced with a warm smile, "we have a little surprise tonight. Anyone who feels like dancing is welcome to join a friendly mini dance challenge. No judgment, just fun." The daughter froze for a moment, her heart pounding. A challenge? A mini dance competition. Fear returned, sharper this time. She felt her stomach twist and her hands grip her father's lightly. She wasn't sure if she could do it. Her father, noticing her hesitation, gently squeezed her shoulder. "You can do this if you want," he said softly. "Just have fun. I'm right here." His calm voice reminded her of all the courage she had already shown. She remembered the small steps she had taken onto the dance floor earlier, the thrill of moving with the music, and the kind encouragement from the waitress. She realized that fear might appear again, but it didn't have to stop her. Taking a deep breath, she nodded slightly. Maybe she could try, even if just a little. The manager called for volunteers. A few guests stepped forward, smiling and laughing. The daughter hesitated, her feet feeling heavy, but the energy around her was contagious. She saw other shy guests beginning to join, and it made her feel less alone. She remembered the feeling of being noticed by the waitress, how that small act of kindness had sparked her confidence. Could she do this now? Could she show herself that she was brave enough to step further out of her comfort zone? Slowly, she moved toward the center of the dance floor. Her father followed, staying close but letting her take the lead. The music began to play, faster and more lively than before, and she felt her body respond almost automatically. The first few steps were cautious, careful, as if testing the water. She stumbled slightly, but the crowd's warmth and the gentle smiles around her encouraged her to keep going. She started to twirl softly, then began experimenting with small moves. Letting herself feel the rhythm, to her surprise, some of the other participants cheered her on quietly. Noticing her tentative but genuine movements, their support gave her an unexpected boost of confidence. She realized that dancing wasn't about being perfect. It was about expressing herself, letting go, and having fun. She began to smile more freely this time as the music carried her along. Her father clapped lightly from the side, his pride evident in every glance. He didn't need words. His presence alone reassured her. The waitress, who had been observing from a distance, noticed the daughter joining the mini dance challenge. She felt a quiet sense of pride. She had only given a small gesture of encouragement, a hug and a kind word, but the effect had been far greater than she imagined. The daughter's courage was blossoming before everyone's eyes, and the energy in the room seemed to lift with her. People began to cheer quietly, clapping along with the beat, creating an atmosphere of celebration rather than competition. The daughter continued to move with more confidence. Her steps became bolder, her spins more assured. She even attempted a small twirl, and the crowd responded with gentle applause. She felt a thrill run through her, a mixture of joy, pride, and disbelief. Could she really be doing this? Could she really be dancing freely in front of strangers? The fear that had seemed so powerful earlier in the night now felt smaller, almost insignificant. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Her father's eyes never left her. He was proud not because she was dancing perfectly, but because she had faced her fear and embraced the moment. He had always known she had strength within her, but seeing it unfold in real time was a remarkable experience. Every smile, every movement, every little laugh that escaped her lips filled him with a sense of wonder. He quietly applauded, letting her know that she was doing wonderfully. But without drawing attention away from her, the music shifted again, and the daughter adapted effortlessly. She began to incorporate small spins, gentle steps, and subtle gestures that matched the rhythm. The crowd around her clapped softly, encouraging her, and she felt a growing sense of belonging. She was no longer just an observer. She was part of the energy of the room, contributing to the joy rather than hiding from it. The fear that had once gripped her heart was replaced with excitement and exhilaration. As the dance continued, a few of the other guests began to mirror her movements, creating a small circle of shared joy. The daughter felt a rush of happiness, realizing that her courage had inspired others to join in, even in small ways. Her father noticed this too, and his heart swelled with pride. This wasn't just a moment for her. It was a moment that connected people, sparked laughter, and spread happiness. The impact of small acts of courage, he thought, could ripple far beyond what one might expect. The waitress returned briefly, catching the daughter's eye and giving a small, approving nod. The daughter smiled back, feeling a surge of gratitude. That simple acknowledgement reminded her of the journey she had taken tonight from fear, 2 small steps, to fully embracing the dance floor. She realized that kindness and encouragement from others had played a crucial role in her transformation. It wasn't just about her own courage. It was about the support and belief that others had shown her. The manager encouraged the participants to continue moving freely, reminding them that this was about fun, not competition. The daughter allowed herself to completely let go, spinning and swaying with confidence. She laughed aloud, the sound bright and genuine, filling the room with a contagious happiness. The father smiled, realizing that this night had become far more magical than he had ever imagined. It wasn't just a dinner or a night out. It was a turning point for his daughter. A moment where she had discovered her own strength and joy. The crowd's energy continued to build, and the daughter began experimenting with small improvisations, stepping in rhythm and twirling with grace. Each movement felt freeing, each step a declaration of independence from her fears. She felt a powerful sense of accomplishment and pride. This was more than just dancing. It was a celebration of courage, self-expression, and the ability to embrace life despite uncertainty. Her father joined her briefly on the dance floor, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "See what happens when you trust yourself?" he said softly. She nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection and warmth. This moment was not just about fun or dancing. It was about love, support, and the realization that she could face her fears and still find joy. Her father's quiet presence reinforced the lesson. Courage was not something she had to do alone. As the song reached its climax, she took a small, bold spin, and the crowd responded with applause. She blushed slightly but felt proud. Her fear had not disappeared completely, but it no longer controlled her actions. She had chosen to move forward, and that choice had transformed the evening. The room felt alive, filled with laughter, music, and the bright energy of a girl discovering her own strength. By the end of the song, the daughter stood in the middle of the dance floor, breathless but exhilarated. Her father clapped quietly, her cheeks flushed with joy. She realized that this experience was more than just dancing. It was a moment of growth, courage, and self-discovery. The waitress' earlier kindness, the father's quiet encouragement, and the energy of the room had combined to create a night she would never forget. She looked around, noticing the smiles of others, the warmth of the restaurant, and the music that still flowed through the room. She felt a sense of pride and happiness that she had never experienced before. Her father reached for her hand, and they walked together to the edge of the floor, sharing a quiet moment of connection. She had faced her fears, embraced joy, and discovered the power of courage, and she knew this night would stay with her forever. The music had quieted, and the last notes of the lively song lingered in the warm, golden light of the restaurant. The daughter's chest heaved slightly. A mix of exhaustion and exhilaration from the whirlwind of dancing and excitement she had experienced. Her cheeks were flushed with joy, and a bright, genuine smile spread across her face. For the first time in a long time, she felt completely free, fully herself, and proud of what she had accomplished. She had faced her fears, embraced the rhythm, and discovered a courage she didn't know she possessed. Her father approached her gently, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You did amazing," he said softly, his eyes full of pride and love. She turned to him, her eyes glimmering with gratitude and happiness. In that quiet moment, she realized how deeply he cared for her, not just for her safety, but for her confidence, her happiness, and her growth as a person. The evening had become far more than a night out. It had transformed into a memory of courage, love, and human connection that she would carry forever as they walked toward their table. The daughter reflected on everything that had happened. She remembered the nervousness she had felt when they first arrived, the hesitation that made her cling to her father, and the fear that had almost stopped her from dancing. And yet each step she had taken, from sitting quietly to joining the dance floor, from small sways to bold spins, had built her confidence. She realized that courage was not about never being afraid, but about taking action even when fear was present. The waitress approached their table once again, smiling warmly. She had been watching the daughter from a distance, witnessing her transformation, and she seemed genuinely pleased. "You did wonderfully," she said softly. "I could see how brave you were out there." The daughter blushed slightly, feeling a rush of gratitude. That small moment, the hug, the encouraging words, the gentle smile had made a bigger difference than she could have imagined. She understood now that kindness could inspire courage and change a moment, or even a night, in ways that felt almost magical. Her father nodded to the waitress, offering his thanks. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "You've made a big difference tonight." The waitress waved it off humbly, smiling. "It's my pleasure. Sometimes all someone needs is a little encouragement." The father glanced at his daughter, and in that look she could see his pride and love. They had shared something rare tonight, a moment of genuine connection, of growth and bravery, that would stay with both of them forever. As the evening began to wind down, the restaurant's atmosphere softened. Couples returned to their seats. The chatter became quieter, and the golden lights seemed to glow more warmly. The daughter and her father sat together, enjoying the calm after the excitement. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, not just from the dancing, but from the realization that she could overcome fear, that she had the power to try new things, and that support from others could make even the hardest challenges feel achievable. Her father reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I'm proud of you," he said. "Not just for dancing tonight, but for taking a step toward courage. You've shown so much bravery." The daughter squeezed his hand, feeling warmth and love. "Thank you for being here," she replied softly. "I couldn't have done it without you." He smiled, understanding that this night had been as meaningful for him as it had been for her. He had spent so much of his life focused on work, money, and status. But moments like this reminded him that the most valuable things were simple: love, family, and the growth of those you care about. As they prepared to leave the restaurant, the daughter glanced around one last time. The music had stopped, and the guests were finishing their meals. The memory of dancing, laughing, and feeling brave lingered in the air. She realized that courage could be contagious, that her small steps on the dance floor had not only changed her own night, but had inspired others around her. She felt proud and empowered, understanding that she could face future fears with the same determination she had shown tonight. Outside, the cool night air greeted them as they stepped onto the street. The city lights twinkled above, but the warmth of the evening remained with her. Her father walked beside her, still holding her hand, and she felt safe, loved, and supported. She realized that bravery didn't have to be grand or heroic. Sometimes it was quiet, small, and personal. Dancing tonight had been her own form of courage, a private victory that no one else could take away. Her father paused for a moment, looking down at her with a soft, affectionate smile. "I hope you remember this night," he said. "Not just the dancing, but the feeling of facing your fears and finding joy. That courage will stay with you forever." She nodded, her eyes glistening with emotion. She already knew she would never forget this night, the warmth, the music, the laughter, the encouragement, and the love that had surrounded her. The daughter's thoughts returned to the waitress, who had played a small but crucial role in the evening. She realized that the simplest acts of kindness could create ripples that changed someone's life. A hug, a smile, a kind word, they could make the impossible feel possible. She felt grateful not only to her father but also to the stranger who had given her the courage to take that first step onto the dance floor. That memory would stay with her, a reminder that human connection and support could transform fear into joy. As they walked together toward the car, the daughter felt a sense of calm and accomplishment. Her father matched her pace, speaking softly about the little moments of the evening, making her laugh as they recalled small, funny incidents from the restaurant. The shared laughter deepened their bond, turning the night into a memory they would both treasure. She realized that this night had been more than just a night out. It had been a lesson in courage, kindness, and love. When they reached the car, the daughter turned to her father. "I feel different tonight," she said, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "I feel braver, happier, like I can do more than I thought." He smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "That's exactly what I hoped for," he replied. "You've shown yourself what you're capable of. And remember, courage grows when you take small steps, even when you're afraid." She nodded, feeling a profound sense of understanding and confidence as they drove home through the city lights. The daughter looked out the window, reflecting on the evening. She thought about the nervousness she had felt at first, the encouragement from her father, and the unexpected kindness of the waitress. Each piece had built together to create a night she would never forget. She realized that courage, love, and human kindness were powerful forces that could change her life in meaningful ways. Finally, as they pulled into the driveway, the daughter felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. The evening had been magical, not because of anything extravagant, but because of the quiet moments of connection, bravery, and joy. She hugged her father tightly, feeling grateful for his support and love. "Thank you," she whispered. "This was the best night ever." He hugged her back, holding her close, and whispered, "You did all the hard work. I'm just proud to watch you shine." She went inside, still glowing from the night, carrying with her the lessons of courage, kindness, and self-belief. Her father watched her for a moment before entering himself, reflecting on the evening. For him, the night had been a reminder that the most meaningful moments in life weren't about wealth or status. They were about love, support, and witnessing someone you care about grow and flourish. The daughter would remember this night forever, the fear she overcame, the joy she discovered, and the people who helped her along the way. She had learned that courage wasn't about being fearless. It was about acting despite fear. She had learned that kindness from others could ignite confidence in ways she hadn't imagined. And most importantly, she had learned that love, support, and connection were the greatest gifts anyone could give or receive. As the lights dimmed in the house and the city settled into quiet, the daughter lay in bed, replaying the evening in her mind. She smiled, thinking of the music, the dancing, the encouraging hug, and the unwavering support of her father. The night had been a journey from fear to courage, from hesitation to joy. And in that journey, she had discovered something more valuable than any treasure: the belief in herself and the power of love and kindness to transform a simple night into a lifelong memory.